Tonight on NewsVision, a deadly shooting on the Florida State University campus. 2 people are dead and several others have been injured.
I'm scared for my friends and making sure I'm checking up on them, and I just hope everyone's okay.
We will bring you all the latest. Plus, Florida International University faces student backlash after its administration agreed to work with federal immigration enforcement to crack down on student visas. And later on, electric cars hit the track at Homestead as Formula E tries to revolutionize the motorsporting world.
We want to put on amazing racing, but the 2 other pillars of our business is to support the energy transition, and the 3rd pillar is sustainability.
All this and a lot more on tonight's program, and it starts right now. Good evening and welcome to NewsVision. I'm Gavin Bishow.
And I'm Kayla Butter. Thank you for joining us. It is a tragic day at Florida State University after a deadly shooting on their campus this afternoon.
FSU students, faculty, and staff received active shooter warnings around 12:30 telling them to shelter in place. These notifications reportedly came half an hour after the initial shots were heard. The shooting happened during an active shooter event where local law enforcement was supposed to practice in case of a shooter in the area.
The community was warned to not panic if they hear gunshots, as they were supposed to be just a part of the training, but the shooting was for real. Max Keller has the details.
Florida State University community is in shock after one gunman opened fire on the Tallahassee campus this afternoon, killing at least 2 people and injuring at least 6 students. The shooting happened at the Student Union, which is the main hub for people to gather at the center of campus.
Saw kids running away from the Student Union, and I walked away from the window. Then I walked back to the window and heard 6, 7 more shots ring out.
Local authorities directed students away from the scene and provided immediate medical assistance.
We saw like a gurney, and then like the gurney came back and the guy had his arm cut off, and I think like he was bleeding and like he had like bandages and stuff, and so like that was really hard to see.
Authorities identified the shooter as the sheriff deputy's son.
Unfortunately, her son had access to one of her weapons, and that was one of the weapons that was found at the scene.
The alleged shooter has been hospitalized after being shot by police. The University of Miami has released a statement in support of Florida State that says the University of Miami stands in heartfelt solidarity with the Florida State University community in the wake of today's tragic events. Our thoughts are with all those affected, especially the families, friends, and loved ones impacted. As a fellow member of the ACC, we stand in unity with the Seminoles. All classes and activities at Florida State University have been canceled today through the weekend. Authorities are asking members of the community to stay indoors, call their loved ones, and seek assistance through the university's support services. For UMTV, I'm Max Keller.
And just a short time ago, UMTV talked to one FSU pre-med student who was on campus when the shooting happened.
And then all of a sudden, just the shots rang out, and they came right from next to my classroom, right outside of the classroom I was in. So I just took off running. Everyone in the class just started screaming, and it was just all chaotic. So the shots came from the left side of the classroom. Everyone exited out the right side from what I could see. That's kind of really all I remember, is reaching for my backpack and then hearing the shots. And it almost sounded like the shooter was in the room. That's how loud it was. So everyone was so confused that I think everyone just started like scurrying wherever they could. And so as soon as I got up, I ran out, and it drops off as you go out the door. There's a little like 1-step drop off, and I slipped and face planted right there. I got up and went into the grass where it dropped off again off the cement, and I slipped again right there. And finally, I kicked my shoes off in the grass, and I haven't seen my shoes since, but I just took off running. Thankfully, I mean, I'm okay for the most part, but definitely that split second where I first heard the shots ring off and everyone started screaming is it kind of replays in your head every time you start thinking about the incident, and it definitely brings up some emotions in you. I mean, as far as trauma is, I don't think I fully processed the incident yet because it just happened about 5 hours ago. I'm very proud of our staff and first responders on campus with what they've done. I think they saved a lot of lives today.
Florida International University is facing backlash after confirming a new agreement with ICE that allows immigration enforcement cooperation on campus. Today, students organized a walkout in protest. Christopher Perez joins us live at FIU to tell us more. Chris, what's going on?
Kayla, FIU is the latest university to come under fire after its partnership with ICE. It also joins other schools in Florida that have partnered with ICE, including the University of Florida, that has already had one student self-deport. Today, FIU students staged a walkout from noon to 2 p.m. in protest. All of this comes as Florida Governor Ron DeSantis continues to reshape the state's public universities, including appointing new administrators. While the changes are not directly tied to ICE, they're part of a larger timeline that is blending university education and politics. UMTV reached out to FIU for comment, but we have not heard back. However, in a statement to WSVN, Florida International University officials said, quote, FIU Police Department has signed a cooperation agreement with the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement in compliance with Governor Ron DeSantis' directive law enforcement agency. The walkout here at FIU lasted until 2 p.m. with students lining the university lawn chanting, "Say it loud, say it clear. Immigrants are welcomed here." There were no reported incidents, and university operations continued as scheduled. Reporting live from Florida International University, Christopher Perez, UMTV.
This is Coast to Coast, bringing you news from across the United States. I'm Shea McDonald.
And I'm Ariel Weil. The Trump administration has frozen more than $2 billion in federal funding for Harvard University after the school failed to meet policy changes mandated by the White House.
Among these demands are an immediate end to DEI, banning masks at campus protests, reforming the admissions process, and reducing the power held by faculty and administrators.
This is a president who, when he was campaigning for office, said that he didn't like what was taught at America's universities and that he was going to bankrupt them unless they started teaching something different.
Crespo added that the demands from the White House are not about anti-Semitism, but that they come from an alternative agenda of their intentions to transform the education system.
Harvard's decision is the first time an elite university has resisted the current administration's demands and comes at a time while other universities are deciding their next moves in response to the White House.
If these grants are taken away, Harvard could lose its ability to take in international students that make up almost 30% of the university's student population. One federal judge says the Trump administration could be held in contempt of court.
The judge says the government violated an order issued on March 15th to block the deportation of Venezuelan immigrants using the Alien Enemies Act. The Supreme Court sided with the Trump administration on April 7th, but said the immigrants needed to be given a chance to challenge the deportations.
But the planes were not turned around and the immigrants are already out of the country. The Trump administration has until April 23rd to explain how they will give the immigrants their day in court. The judge is not requiring that they be returned to the U.S.
The state of California is also challenging the president in court. Their case argues that the Trump tariffs are unconstitutional and that they are igniting a global trade war.
The Golden State is home to America's largest share of manufacturing and agricultural production, and California officials say the tariffs are hitting close to home.
The uncertainty is pronounced and it is profound in the state of California. Consider just the imports coming from Mexico, Canada, and China. 44% of all of the imports into the state of California alone come from just those three countries.
Trump announced a 90-day pause in his reciprocal tariffs for every country except for China. In response, China raised their tariffs on the United States to 125%. They also stopped exports of rare earth metals that are necessary for defense, energy, and automotive technology.
Meanwhile, the Trump administration says the tariffs are already working. Tech company NVIDIA has announced that they will move manufacturing and AI investments into the United States. The Chinese Foreign Ministry says it will not continue to play the tariffs numbers game with America and has filed a complaint against the U.S. with the World Trade Organization.
That's all for today on Coast to Coast. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Shay and Ariel. We have updates on 2 votes in the Florida House that concern fluoride in the water and construction in Florida state parks. These stories and more after a short break.
It's time yet.
It's time.
Let's go and check for dinner.
Oh, terrific.
Donating pet food is one of the many ways you can help families in your community. Pets and people belong together. Learn more at petsandpeopletogether.org.
A ban on fluoride in municipal drinking water has moved closer to becoming a law in Florida. Yesterday, Florida senators passed a bill that would preemptively prevent local municipalities from adding fluoride to their water. That bill now heads to the Florida House. Miami-Dade commissioners voted to ban fluoride from drinking water on April 1st, but County Mayor Daniela Levine Cava vetoed the legislation. Last Friday, Cava stood by her decision in a news conference at the University of Miami Marine campus on Key Biscayne.
Dentists and medical experts, the same people that we rely upon to protect our children and our families every day. They continue to affirm that water fluoridation is a safe, effective, and efficient way to maintain dental health in our county.
Fluoride was added to the drinking water of Miami-Dade residents since 1958. The recent legislation follows a push from Health Secretary RFK Jr. to remove fluoride from drinking water nationwide. If Florida passes the ban, it would follow the lead of Utah, another Republican-controlled state that has already approved the measure.
Florida legislators have rejected another proposal by Governor Ron DeSantis. It concerns his so-called Great Outdoors Initiative. In 2024, DeSantis proposed new developments in 9 Florida state parks. These projects included golf courses, pickleball courts, and hotels. But yesterday, the House voted unanimously against the initiative.
Public parks serve as a place for people to foster a sense of community. And during Miami Pride Week, a backyard barbecue in a public park has created a safe space for members of the LGBTQ+ community. Melanie Lowe checked it out.
More than a dozen LGBTQ+ seniors came together for food, fellowship, and pride at the 2nd annual LGBTQ Senior Barbecue in Miami Beach.
There's still a pride, which I love. There is a pride and a strength in identifying themselves how they want to be identified.
Marianne was one of 20 seniors at the event, hosted by Miami LGBTQ organizations like Pride Lines, Lambda Living, and Sage Miami.
It's really important to have opportunities for older LGBT folks to socialize.
Organizers say it's about more than fun. It's about reducing isolation and building community.
Holding events like today's event creates a sense of community and strengthens the bonds that individuals have with others.
It was also a rare space for safety for LGBTQ seniors.
I came out in 1963. The bars were getting raided, my friends were being arrested. It was not a pretty picture.
While times have changed, some say acceptance is still a work in progress, and allies at the event say empathy is everything.
Because we're human. If I cut you, you bleed. If you hurt me, I cry. We're all God's children.
For seniors who fought for rights and visibility, today's climate can feel like a setback, but Marianne remains resilient.
As I've been through the whole civil rights movement, the whole women power movement, the abortion rights, we're going to make it through, but I think we will have a lot of hollering, screaming, and kicking ahead of us.
Melanie Lowe, UMTV.
Yeah, and Kayla, whenever you face that type of adversity for so long, it's so important to have that community surrounding you.
And it seems like such a great community that they've been able to build. Now moving on to weather, student meteorologist Quinn Davidson is here.
Quinn, what can we expect for this weekend?
Gavin, another stretch of beautiful, beautiful weather is going to come to South Florida. We have no really rain in the forecast, but unfortunately with that, the new drought monitor this morning was issued for Florida. And portions of our state are now under an extreme drought depicted in red. Parts of Broward County, actually, we have 10% of Broward County is in that red extreme drought zone. Here in Miami-Dade County, we now have 61% of our county in that severe drought, which is actually up 45% from just last week. And with this, that's why I'm thinking we're going to be experiencing some fire weather potential tomorrow. We have high temperatures in the low 80s with relative humidity values approaching 30 to 35%. No alerts as of right now, but we see those wind is coming in off the east, 15 to 20 miles per hour, and those gusts are what's really going to be allowing for fires to spread if one were to form. Here on Friday, we see those winds, 23 miles per hour here in Miami, pushing down into the Keys even stronger. And as we head into the day on Saturday, it's kind of the same situation. Once again, we have those winds in the 20s and 30s, and that is what's going to be causing that fire danger. On top of those very, very dry conditions, we now see we have no really rain chances in the forecast. The only thing we really see is on Saturday and Sunday into the beginning of the work week with that 10% chance. But again, nothing substantial. Thankfully, though, with no rain in the forecast, it's going to be an excellent Easter forecast. Our peeps here are telling us we have our morning temperatures waking up in the low 70s. By the time we head to lunch, it'll be 81, and ending the day around 77 degrees. It's going to be a great day to get outside, go egg hunting, and have a great holiday. As for our 7-day forecast, again, beautiful conditions prevailing. We have temperatures in those 80s. We have a slow increase as we head into the beginning of the work week, into the middle of the work week, where we're going to be seeing temperatures 83. And that is when we're going to be seeing those nighttime temperatures as well in the 70s. So Earth Day is looking to be absolutely gorgeous as well. And you guys, I think this is just a great time to head to the beach. It's one of those beautiful weekends. Temperatures are perfect, but again, always be sure to keep an eye on those flags and the lifeguards.
That 7-day forecast looks incredible.
Oh. And for those celebrating on Sunday, seems like a great day, especially the egg hunts. That's my favorite part of
Yes.
Easter, at least.
Oh, it's
the
and
candy,
all the candy.
dollar bills.
The candy.
Sometimes you get lucky.
Oh, I know. And so with all this beautiful weather in South Florida, many head to the beach. So there are many efforts to protect this environment. One of the latest efforts is at the city of Pinecrest, not far from UM campus, where they have installed 5 floating flower islands as part of a pilot program to fight nutrient pollution. And these native plants don't just float, they actually filter runoff before it can reach Biscayne Bay. On this small canal in Pinecrest, these flower-filled islands are more than just decoration. They're natural water filters, removing pollutants from runoff and fertilizer.
Nutrient pollution from fertilizers that run off into our waterways. Nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus are instead feeding something else when they enter the water. They feed algae.
FIU researcher and Phytoflora founder Jasmine Locke Rodriguez says the roots of these plants soak up pollutants right from the water.
They pull nitrogen and phosphorus out of the soil to absorb into their stems, their leaves, their blooms, but instead of being in the soil, now they're directly in the water.
Behind me here in Pinecrest, you can see these 5 floating flower islands where there are all these natural plants and flowers on the islands where those roots dig deep down and naturally filter out pollutants in the water like nitrogen and phosphorus. The islands provide an alternative to herbicides, which are traditionally used to control invasive weeds in these waterways. One local fishing guide says he already sees a difference.
Obviously, they're pleasing to the eye, and for fishing purposes, because they remove pollutants from the water, the fish, it's easier for them to breathe underwater. For my business, having these out here and having the waters cleaner, it actually helps me out.
A local resident who grew up in the area agrees and appreciates the effort to keep the water clean.
Growing up in South Florida, I spend a lot of time on the water, and I think it's really nice that they're doing all these measures to help clean up the water.
Locke Rodriguez hopes this small pilot project will set a larger example.
I absolutely hope that by demonstrating we can do this at a larger scale in Pinecrest, that we can also be a model for other communities to adopt this strategy as well.
For now, these floating islands remain a sign that sometimes the best solutions are the simplest, and they're rooted in nature. Reporting for UMTV, I'm Quinn Davidson.
Over the weekend, the University of Miami's professional medical fraternity, Phi Delta Epsilon, hosted its annual Anatomy Fashion Show fundraiser. Since its founding at UM in 2010, Phi Delta Epsilon has partnered with Children's Miracle Network to raise money for Nicholas Children's Hospital in Miami. And this year's Anatomy Fashion Show took inspiration from the hit competition series Survivor. Members of Phi Delta Epsilon competed for the title of Soul Survivor, painted to represent different anatomical systems.
We're just, the small impact that we can make is truly huge in their lives. However much time it takes, it's just so worth it. So seeing not only all of my members and my finance team's work, is that alone gives me so much motivation.
Not only did faculty judges vote on their favorite survivor, but the audience also voted for their favorite model, donating $1 per vote to support the cause. The show raised almost $9,000 for Nicholas.
When we return, we will tell you where some rising basketball stars are headed in this year's WNBA draft.
How do you know when you've made the right decision? It's the feeling you get in your gut, the one that tells you what's right or wrong. It's the one that says, sure, I can have a drink, or the feeling that says, okay, I've been drinking, now what? It's the voice inside you that says, I'm buzzed. Better leave the car when it's time to go. Plan ahead. Catch a sober ride. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome to sports. I'm Tyron Jacobs. Canes baseball is on a roll, winning another ACC series and their midweek game on Tuesday. Let's take it to Marklight Field for the rubber match against the University of North Carolina. The true freshman gets the start for the Canes. Tate Darius, bottom of the fourth now. Miami down 2-0, but it's Cuvée with the bomb over the left field fence, his 7th home run of the season. Bottom of the fifth now, Miami down 4-1. It's the designated hitter, Evan Taveras, with a 2-run home run, bringing in Dorian Gonzalez with him. A few batters later now, Duke up 4-3, but Cuvée again rips that one into deep right field. A 3 RBI double for him. Miami leads 6-4. Now bottom of the sixth, it's Dorian Gonzalez with a moon shot, and Miami takes the lead 7-6. Will Smith now on the man for the Canes. He gets a strikeout, and he'll get 4 more on the day to get 100 career strikeouts. In the bottom of the 8th now, Miami still up, but it's the machine. Digo is back for his 2nd home run of the day and his 7th home run of the season. Brian Walters will close out the game for the Canes. Miami wins 8-6 for their 2nd ACC series win. Also in Canes sports, Jay Lucas continues his aggressive recruiting in both players and coaches. Most recently, Timotej Malavec, the 6'9" forward from Slovakia, has committed to the University of Miami per ESPN. And another recruit in Dante Allen, ranked 41 in his class, he flipped his commitment from Villanova to the U. As for the coaching staff, Jay Lucas signed Eric Pastrana and Charlton Young as associate coaches. The 2025 WNBA draft was on Monday, and many big names from women's NCAA basketball had their names called. Paige Beckers was selected as the #1 overall pick to the Dallas Wings. Beckers led UConn to a national title this year and became the 6th Husky to go first in the draft. Another notable name is Haley Van Lith out of TCU, who was picked #11 overall to the Chicago Sky. The WNBA season begins on May 16th. And last weekend, One Racing League came to town at Homestead, Miami, and showed us you don't need gas-guzzling cars to create a successful product. Manny Nacarado has the story.
From NASCAR to Formula One, motorsports are some of the biggest events around the world, with one thing in common: they both use fossil fuels. But Formula E is trying to make a big change in the racing industry.
So we want to put on amazing racing. But the 2 other pillars of our business is to support the energy transition, so to help people away from internal combustion engine cars. And the 3rd pillar is sustainability. So trying to educate people that you can run massive global championships and events like this, but do it in a very sustainable way.
And since these cars are electric, there are some key differences between other race leagues and Formula E.
The race is obviously a lot different to what you would expect in something different like NASCAR or Formula One, where we have to try and save as much energy as we possibly can to make it to the end of the race. Cars are so advanced now that we're able to do so.
And the reason why these cars go so fast is from a new technology that Formula E developed called Gen 3, making Formula E the fastest electric car championship in the world.
I don't know, look, by 2030, my ambition is to be the 2nd biggest motorsport in the world, bar none, with our eyes very firmly focused on reeling in Formula One. So that's the ambition. Once we hopefully achieve that ambition, I don't see any reason why we can't be the biggest motorsport in the world.
For UMTV, I'm Manny Nacarado.
Still ahead on NewsVision, we'll tell you how one Florida organization is helping dozens of young adults on the verge of homelessness. There are more than 20,000 children in Florida's foster care system, making it the state with the second largest number of children in the system. Of those 20,000, more than half age out without getting adopted, leaving them at risk for becoming homeless. One organization in Orlando called the Fane House helps dozens of young adults just like this. I had the opportunity to visit the Fane House and met some of the young adults who live there. Like many young adults, 21-year-old Shaderica Jones is getting ready to rent her very first apartment. But unlike most of her peers, this will not be her first time living independently.
Honestly, before I was living here, I was homeless. I was moving from hotel to hotel.
In the United States, an estimated 580,000 people are considered homeless, and out of them, 29% are children. Shaderica went into foster care when she was in elementary school and became homeless, living in hotels, on friends' couches, and even on the streets after aging out of the foster care system when she turned 18.
Their lives are forever changed. They will never have the connections that they need. The cycle will not break, and they will continue in the cycle of abuse and homelessness. And once you're homeless, it's hard to come out of it.
Now, some organizations are trying to help former foster care kids transition easier into independent living. One of them is the Fane House in Orlando, Florida, which welcomes young adults like Shaderica.
It's a really good place. You have your own bed. They help you with jobs and a whole lot of other stuff.
The Fane House focuses on providing its residents with life skills, financial literacy courses, and mental health counseling to prepare them to successfully live on their own.
We really focus on teaching them how to use their money wisely, get an education so that they can find a job with a livable wage.
Dawn Warfel, who has worked in the foster care system for 25 years, says these courses are important for individuals in the system, as many of them struggle with mental health issues and trauma.
They have a hard time socializing and maintaining jobs, really learning about how to take care of themselves.
But as much as the Fane House stresses the importance of hard work, Gaines says that his #1 priority is making the residents feel safe.
We try to make sure that they're safe first, because then once we get them to a safe place, then we work right into building that trust with them. And then once we get the safety and the trust, then we can move on to every other aspect of the program that we need to do.
Since its creation in 2011, the Fane House has helped dozens of young adults who had nowhere else to turn to.
I really appreciate all the help that they do for us. They work hard to make sure we where we need to be.
Now, Shaderica says she's confidently ready to enter the real world with all of the skills that she got in the Fane House. Dozens of former Fane House residents have now opened their first bank account, found employment, and earned a college degree.
And finally, there's only one full week of classes left in the spring semester, and with finals coming up, student organization Hurricane Productions has offered UM students a way to de-stress. This week, HP hosted a Break the Heat event on the lakeside patio where students smashed their stress away in a rage room. Students wrote down their stressors on a ceramic plate and then threw and broke that plate in the Smashmobile rage room.
If you just see people leaving, they're smiling, or they're excited that they just put all their anger or their rage or their stress onto breaking the plate.
The event also included self-care related giveaway items and Chick-fil-A catering.
Gavin, that's something I want to be a part of.
In 2 weeks, I'm probably going to need it with studying for finals, so we'll see.
That's all the time we have for this week's edition of NewsVision.
Join us next week for our last show of the semester, a special 1-hour-long presentation starting at 6:30. Have a great night.